Hi there, it's Christy with the Chirp YouTube channel. Today I'm here with a very interesting topic for you, the topic of negation and how your brain interprets it. This is an interesting topic to me because it has to do with neuroscience, and it has to do with language, and it has to do with how both of them sort of fit together, or in this case, how they don't fit together very well. And it's going to help you because you're going to learn how to be a better parent to your child, but also how to be a better encourager for yourself. So the first place I learned about this topic was in a few conferences that I went to on the issue of dealing with kids who have communication disorders. And then I was reading on the topic of brain training, how to train your brain so that you think different patterns. And I have a very interesting book that I'm going to leave down in the info box for you that's actually called Train Your Brain. And it was really helpful and fascinating. And I'm going to explain a little bit of the neurology to you first, and then I'm going to explain how this can be helpful to you. So if you imagine that your brain, this is a little thing in your brain called your amygdala. It's deep inside of your brain at the very center. This part of your brain is your gray matter, your cortex. This is the part that understands language, that can do complex reasoning, that can think about thinking, and that can think about language, so it has metacognition. This is the part that you think of as the grown-up. This part in here is a little child brain. This is what some people call your ancient brain or your primitive brain, your animal brain, your dinosaur brain. There's all sorts of different names for it. And the basic idea is that your amygdala does not understand language. It pretty much, the only kind of thinking it can do is visual and emotional. So it responds to emotions and it responds to thoughts that you have that give it a visual image. So this is what it kind of looks like inside of your head. Now, the reason this is so important is because these two parts of your brain speak to each other. The dinosaur brain, the grown-up, mature, evolved brain. And of course, the logical part of your brain can try to speak logic to your amygdala, but that doesn't really work because your amygdala doesn't have the capability of understanding logic. So all it can do is send pictures to your amygdala. And all your amygdala can do is send out the fight, flight, or hide sort of responses and chemicals so that your body can protect itself from whatever is going to assault it, possibly. So let's say that you give your brain a thought like, don't think about that man that horribly broke up with you last week. Well, your external brain, your cortex, is able to think, don't think about him. But your amygdala is hearing, every time you say that to yourself, your amygdala is hearing, think about him, because negation is a language thing. It's not a visual thing. So I know this is a visual, but your amygdala does not understand negation. And this is what I'm talking to you about today. Your dinosaur brain, your deep brain that controls your fight, flight, or hide reflexes does not understand negation. So as you're trying to reprogram your thinking pattern, you cannot use a phrase that has a negative in it. You can't tell yourself, don't think about chocolate ice cream. You can't tell yourself, don't think about French fries, because all your amygdala is hearing is chocolate ice cream and French fries. And so what's getting repeated is actually the opposite of what you want to be thinking and what you want to be practicing. So this is how it works with adults. And guess what? It works like that with kids too. And not only does it work like that with kids in their dinosaur brain, when they're very young and when they have a communication disorder, they don't understand negation the same way that an adult does either. Even on their cortex level, even in the logical part of their brain, negation doesn't necessarily make sense to them. So what child development specialists have determined is that when we give kids directions, we need to be telling them all of this without using negatives. So if we have a child that hits a lot, instead of saying, don't hit, we could say something like, we use nice hands. Instead of saying, don't be jittering and shaking all around while we're sitting still at church, you can say, we have quiet feet and quiet hands. I have a little girl, I had to come up with something positive. I have a little girl who grinds her teeth as part of her thinking process, and for her it's part of her developmental diagnosis that this is one of the symptoms. But a lot of kids with this same diagnosis end up grinding away most of their teeth, and so we work on giving them a message very early in their lives that they don't need to be grinding. Of course, this message typically is don't grind, don't grind. And so I'm thinking, what could I use? I chose soft mouth. Soft mouth. And so this is just a very quick neuroscience update for you, and a method that might help not only your own thinking patterns, but those of your child. If you have a child who continues to do a behavior that you thought that you had given directions against, perhaps the behavior is secretly being reinforced because you're trying to redirect it by using a phrase that has a negative in it. Don't hit, don't jump, don't dig through the garbage, all of those kind of things. Try turning it around, giving it a positive spin. Tell your child what you think he should be doing instead, and that might help you overcome that little hiccup in your child's behavior. I hope this was interesting and helpful for you. And once again, check in the info box because there is more information down there below. I could go on about this topic for a long time because it's fascinating. But I just wanted to give you a little heads up and hope that you enjoyed it. Have a great week. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.